Hey friends, welcome back to the Samurai version 3 tutorial, and today we are going to do the collapse. Now I have the crease pattern here for reference, and I'll be using Kami as well for part of it to kind of show you the general structure and the sequence. But yeah, thanks for watching, and if you're here, you should already have your grid and everything pre-creased, and as you can see, I don't have the hat pre-creased, which I said in my intro video, and also the edges are mountain fold accordion grids. And if you don't know what any of that means, watch intro video and that'll get you caught up. But yeah, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start off with the hat first, which is why we didn't pre-crease it, because there's a nice sequence. And what you're going to do is, if you look at the crease pattern, you'll notice there's a 4x4 square right in the middle. So we're going to want to fold around that by mountain folding along the vertical grid lines, and then after 2 grid units valley fold. And now that's going to be kind of confusing, so I have this Kami example to show you. So as you can see, they are just mountain valley folded. So first you're going to do it one direction like that, and then you're going to do it the other, whatever that's horizontal or vertical, it doesn't quite matter, just to get this kind of square unit like that. So I'm going to show it on here, and if that didn't make any sense after I show it, it probably will, but otherwise I'm going to show this example one more time, and we'll keep going. Alright, so I'm going to flip the paper so I can fold it a little easier. I'm going to find where the marks are. That. And for this, you might have to invert your grid, at least on this unit, but it's going to invert back when we do the level shifters later. That's one side done. And now we're going to do the other side. Once again, find the middle. And take your time so everything's precise. There you go. And that's how we start. And once again, it's going to be 2 grid units of folding on top of each other like that. You can see we have 2 units on this side, and that lets it lay flat. The next part, what we're going to do is we're going to take our folded edges like this, and we're actually going to focus on the corners. So what I'm going to want to do, and this is like, if you folded a tessellation before, this is very similar. You're going to want to pull out this corner so that it becomes the edge of like a water bomb base or a preliminary base, depending on how you want to see it, just like that. And then you're gonna want to let it collapse back down. So when you let it collapse back down, it's going to be like a reverse fold, and like that. And then same thing on this side. And I'll show you what it looks like underneath. So it looks like this underneath. So it's the exact same as a like a square base or a preliminary base that you would fold to make a crane. Exact same. Or you can think of it as a reverse fold, like this. Reverse fold, like that. So I'll show a little bit more like that, and then I'll show it on this paper. So it's going to be like this. So you're going to take this layer, you're going to unfold it just a little bit, pull out the corner, and you're going to recollapse the corner like that. And then right along here is where these reverse folds come in. So when I recollapse it, forms 1, forms 2, and that's 1 corner. And so we're going to do that for all 4 corners. I'll time lapse through this really quick. But if you didn't understand that, slow it back down. It's not too difficult, or it's not difficult at all, just a little bit to think about. But yeah. All right, so this part gets a little bit tricky. We're just going to work on 1 corner and 1 side, basically. And what you're going to want to do is, since this is 2 units wide, we're essentially going to sink this guy in, but it's not as bad as saying it's a sink fold. So kind of follow along with me. We're going to open up a corner right here like that, not all the way. And we're going to act like we're squash folding, or spread squashing, I should say, this grid unit. So like this. This is super easy to do. You don't see what I'm doing. I'm just valley folding over one and then mountain folding across both. So it's like a spread squash. And we're going to continue that all the way up to the top, and it's going to spread squash the corner. And once it spread squashes the corner, you're going to want to flatten that out. It's not going to lay flat. I think you can see it goes up to about 3 grid units. And on the crease pattern, you can see that those angles are about 3 grid units. So that's kind of the goal you want to get to. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but be as precise as you can. And once that's the case, you're going to valley fold or spread squash back over. And that kind of simulates the sink fold. And now you'll notice when you get to the top, it's not going to collapse in. So what you actually want to do is take the far corner and you're going to valley fold it, and then it's going to swivel, and that swivel fold is going to let it lie flat. So you're going to valley like this, and then it's going to swivel, and it's kind of similar to the reverse fold we did. It's kind of the same, and I'll show what it looks like underneath. But as you can see, it lets it lay flat like that, and underneath it's like this. You can see the swivel fold kind of matches up to the middle line, like that, and boom. And the cleaner you get that swivel fold, then the more hat radius you get to be able to shape it under the face. It'll make it a little bit easier. And I'll show one more for this side, but other than that, you're going to repeat it on all, I guess, 8 sides of the 4 corners. But once again, I'm gonna go a little faster. We're gonna take this edge and we're going to squash fold like this, a spread squash, and then all the way up to the corner. I'm gonna give you guys a little different angle, so hopefully this helps. Like that. And then we're gonna valley fold back down until we get to the diagonal section, in which case we're going to swivel on this side. Just like that. Let it lie flat. And that's a corner. You can see it kind of sticks out about that much. And repeat on the rest of the sides. So now we're going to work on the chest plate portion of Samurai. We've already completed the hat, it's right here. And so my level shifters are right here for the chest plate on the crease pattern that's right here. The first thing we're gonna do is actually make these mountain and valley folds. So use your crease pattern to see where those are, in case you can't tell what I do right here. But for me, I'm gonna find my level shifters right here. So these top ones is going to be a mountain fold that goes all the way across. Now you're not gonna be able to see the outsides too well, but I'm folding it all the way across the paper. And then after it's folded, I'm gonna close up the layers back like this, just like that. So now we have a flap right here. And then we're going to do that same thing for our bottom level shifters, but it's going to face the opposite direction. It's going to point down, I guess, relative to me, or point towards me, I guess, instead of away. And then we're going to fold this back up like so. And if you aren't familiar with level shifters, I have an entire crease pattern class on them. So go check that out if you're confused how to collapse them from here. But in the prerequisites, you should know how to do this already. It's pretty simple. So we're gonna start with the right side. I'm gonna start with the bottom level shifter, just because it's a little easier since it's near the edge. And you might not be able to see what's going on between the paper, but I'm gonna show a layer like that. And it'll collapse down like so. And then once we have the bottom one, you can do the top one and it will lie flat. And level shifters, as you can see, are shifting our units from a 1 grid pleat to a 2 grid pleat, just like that. So I'm gonna show the next one. I'll try to show it at this angle. It's right here. And pre-crease like that. Boom. So yeah, I have a full tutorial on just these structures in case you need to check that out before you come back. But once you understand how they're done, they're very easy to fold. As you can see, I very quickly did them like that. And there is our chest plate. Now you might notice that we have these guys right here. These aren't level shifters, they're a pleat. We're actually gonna do those at the very end. So make sure they're pre-creased, but we're not gonna worry about them just yet. And yeah, let's move on. Basically, we did the harder structures already, or I guess the more confusing structures. So everything else is pretty much an Elias stretch, and there's no real middle flaps. So the rest is pretty straightforward in terms of technique. So I'm not quite gonna talk about that, but I'll show the order that I like to collapse it in. So since we've collapsed the middle up already, I'm actually gonna flip it this way so that the side facing me are the arms. So the arms are right here, and I'm gonna show in the crease pattern, I flipped it this way. So our chest plate is away from me and the arms are towards me. And very quickly, we're going to collapse this way, and we're gonna collapse inwards for the arms slash swords. And we're just going to ignore the entire bottom part. So I'll kind of show what that looks like. So we're gonna take this side and we're just going to start collapsing the arms. I'm gonna hold it this way actually. So I just rotated crease pattern this way. And as I go down, as you can see, we have residual pleats from the hat. We're going to undo those. So we're gonna open up like that and continue our grid pleats all the way down to the bottom. We're going to go back. This is what I kind of mean by ignoring a lot of this stuff, is we're just gonna have these horizontal grid pleats all the way down until we get to the end of this arm unit. So going like this. And we're going to ignore this little Elias stretch because we're actually going to do it as an Elias stretch later on once the full arm has been collapsed. So that part's easier to do like that. It's more of a sequence, I guess. Even though this is a box plate model, I try to find somewhat of a sequence if possible, so it's not a brute force collapse, even though it still technically is a brute force collapse. But I folded about, I can't exactly remember the number, but I think I've made 9 of these samurai. So over time, I've kind of found which way I prefer, and hopefully it's a good way to show with this tutorial for y'all to understand. So yeah, once again, I'm skipping all the units down there and just folding it as a grid. These are already defined, so I ran into here, I'm gonna turn it this way. And same thing with these, we're going to unfold that and go through them just like this. All right, so we're almost at this point right here. So I'm just doing this until you get to this point, which I think is 14 grid units. Could be wrong, but you don't really have to count it. You just kind of have to look at your crease pattern, make sure you're in the right spot. And since we've opened up a lot of these layers, make sure the hat doesn't open up. It should be pretty locked in there, but in case it lifts up, just be a little careful. All right, and we reached here, this last section. Finish this section up, and then we're going to do the same thing with the left arm. So I'm going to time lapse that. Yeah. All right, before the time lapse, quick little note. So I make this mistake every single time, but see this top valley fold that we initially had for the level shifters? We want to keep that actually through all these pleats. So sorry if you guys are following along and have to do this, but it's not too bad. But get that mountain fold back and then just repleat it like this. Now the bottom one we get rid of. We don't need to keep the bottom one. We just need to keep the top one. So you can correct the mistake with me. It's thankfully we didn't do the whole thing and then have to fix that mistake, which it's still possible to do that. It's not that bad, but that way you can see we still have the mountain fold on this side like this. All right, so I'm gonna continue to time lapse this part, and I had to fix the mistake like this on this side as well, like that. All right, back to the time lapse. All right, so as you can see, and what might be the case on your paper, is the arms turned the model into respective left and right parts. So it's folded kind of down the middle, and we have, I spread it out a little bit like that. We have a left side and we have a right side, and then the hat closed up in the middle like this. That's totally fine. It helps it stay in place, but obviously it's not flat, and you can kind of fold into a flat, but we'll get extra creases, so no point in doing that. But we're going to continue on working on the arm section right here. So we'll kind of have it turned like this and do one arm at a time. So we're going to start with the right arm again and keep going. So I'll show you the next part we're working on the crease pattern, and that is this next unit right here. So this is just another Elias stretch. This part is a little bit funky and then it goes down, but we're going to do this side and then the left side, and it's going to even out into our shoulder pads. So let me show you that really quick. So I'm not sure if you can see on my crease pattern, but hopefully you can see on yours that we have the creases that go this way. And so how I want to collapse that is, since we already have the layers all collapsed this way, I'm going to find the point of this model, and that's, or of the shoulder pad, and that's right here. So on the crease pattern, that's right here, this point. And from here, I can continue the grid lines like this. And I also have this kind of structure to practice in my crease pattern class. So if this is difficult, you can go ahead and practice that. And the same thing, we don't have to worry about this side as much. Normally, I'll just leave it half collapsed, but if you need to fold all the way down to the bottom for this grid, then by all means, you can just keep pleating downwards like that. But we're going to continue on this side. Make sure I stay in frame. This. And like, just because this gets messy, I don't worry about it at all. I just fold it like that, and we'll deal with that section next. So just like that, I got to the point, and then here's the other side of the point here. And you'll learn if you folded a lot of box pleat models that you can kind of leave half lines collapsed, and they'll generally stay together. So now you can see this turned into a point right there. I'm gonna keep following this down. Oops, I lost it a little bit. Point right here. There we go. And I'm just following the creases on my crease pattern, basically. Like this, and we're not gonna worry about the hat area. And once I have most of the point that I grab, I just lay it down next to the arm. That way I can open it this way and collapse the rest of it. And so from here, I'm actually gonna do the left side. Since it's symmetrical, it's gonna help us collapse the full thing down. So same thing, I'm gonna find where the point is. It's right here. I'm gonna start with the point on one side. That. And I like to get the point because then I can grab it, and it just makes it a lot easier to collapse as everything kind of falls into place. Do the grid units like that. And as you can see, since we did the accordion grid, everything just falls into place when you crease it and follow the crease lines. Even though I pre-creased everything mountain fold, the accordion grid basically does the rest for us. So we're just following, and we're gonna make it symmetrical to this side. You can see here. It's like that. And so now from here, we've gone to this portion right here. Now this guy's a little bit strange. I'll admit it was kind of just a design mistake because I miscounted the grid a little bit. But it kind of pulls the shoulders up into the shoulder length. If you don't have this, then they'll be a little too low. But you're basically going to follow the crease lines. So these V's are right here, so don't let that confuse you. And then from here, it's just a regular collapse. Up to the middle. We're gonna keep going. And you'll notice that it's kind of a hinge right here, but the hinge just pushes into the arm. So it's kind of handy. Gotta refold it on this side. That. And now we're at the very end over here, right up against the hat. And so what I like to do is you don't actually fold on this layer. You'll see on the crease pattern, we have all these hinges that go down, and that's to orientate the arms flat so we can collapse the rest of it a little easier. And that's just by turning the page this way and letting it crease down, and then all the hinges are formed right there. Now that we're gonna change this later in shaping, so this is just for it to lie flat basically as we collapse the rest of it. So now we keep our left and right sides pretty evenly, and we can move on. All right, so the next, or the last section of the arms, I guess, are these Elias stretches. So these little squares right here that are 2x2 units. So we're gonna fold those in, and so they're on the bottom side of the Elias stretches that make up the arms. So you can, if you pre-creased it, you can find it pretty easily. Like I just found mine's right here, right? And then to collapse this, you just want to fold along the horizontal grid lines. And however, because of the placement, if you fold in an accordion grid, it's going to be opposite of the accordion grid. Now it sounds a lot, but not really. So basically, if you just want this middle line on the horizontal, that's this one right here. That one's a mountain fold. And then if you know how to do this collapse, which again, the structure is in my crease pattern tutorial, you'll know that the other horizontal lines will be valleys, and then just follow along with the diagonal Elias stretch like this. And then refold this way. And as you can see, it pulled out the 2 units, layers like this, and this is what's going to form the hand and then the hilt of the sword. So you're going to let that lie flat, and mentioned it's an Elias stretch, and it is. So if you're confident enough, you can treat it like an Elias stretch by grabbing the 2 edges like this in the points. Instead of forcing all the creases, you can kind of assume where they're going to be, and then once you have that, since you pull it, you're stretching the paper essentially into the Elias stretch, and you get the same result. It's kind of the same sequence, just a little bit quicker if you're just feeling it out versus checking every grid unit to make sure everything lines up. But that's kind of the concept. And then same thing, just let it lie flat. I like the thin flap. One of these flaps will be thicker, one of them is going to be thinner. The thick flap is the fingers, and the thin flap is the hilt. So I like the hilt to lie flat with the blade, just so there's less of a crease there, like that. And we'll do the rest later in the shaping part, but we're going to leave it like that for now. And now we're done with the entire arm side. So now we're all done with the top half of the samurai, or I guess the top third of the samurai in the arm section. And I say it's the top because it's disconnected from the rest. Next, we're going to do the middle section, and then finally the bottom section. However, this part of the tutorial has gone on a little long, so I'm going to cut it there, and we're going to do a part 2 of the collapse tutorial where we're going to do the middle and the bottom sections. So thanks for making it this far. You're doing great, and look at the next part of the collapse tutorial to finish this base up. But yeah, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the rest of the samurai tutorial. Bye.
All this origami got me going kamikaze now.